How did you come about to creating Mr. X?
Well, after we did Sacred and Profane, I knew I wanted to do a strip, and I wasn't sure if I was going to draw it or somebody else was going to draw it, but I knew I had this genesis of this idea of doing the Maltese Falcon set in Metropolis. Not to do that literally, but to do that concept, that kind of a story. And I developed that over a period of time, a few months. And I even did a test illustration, which I used for an album cover later for Megaton Man. But I tested it out. I knew I wanted to do this Art Deco city of the future, set in the future where there were flying cars and robots and things like that, but that they were all the visions of the Art Deco visions of those things. So I knew I wanted to, and at the time I was sharing the studio with a couple of artists. One of them was Paul Ravache. He was an illustrator that was working mostly in animation. And we started just knocking heads together over lunch. And we both liked the same artists. We both had the same appetite for European artists at the time. Like Serge Clark, Mobius, and Bilal, and others. Especially, this is just before heavy metal, or just about the time heavy metal was starting. So we were getting our dose of European comics from actual European comics that were on sale in Canada, because they were imported. A lot of the French comics were imported to French bookstores, and we would just buy the original French comics and see them long before they were translated, if they ever were translated. So we were starting to think that wouldn't it be great to do this comic strip in that style. So we both started working on that style. And Paul got quite a long ways with it. Paul ended up doing most of the covers for Mr. X based on my concepts or our concepts. He did most of the covers. He did a lot of the developmental drawings that I ended up using with the Hernandez brothers to do those first 4 issues back in the 80s. But it evolved from that. I did a lot of covers as well. And I knew that I wanted to do, the more the strip was being done, the more I really was kind of jealous and wanted to do the strip myself. So, it was 2003 when Dark Horse approached me to take over do the strip, relaunch it, which we did. And I would be drawing it, writing it, coloring it, lettering it, doing the whole thing.
How did the Hernandez brothers get involved? Who approached them?
Well, originally they were approached by my other studio mate, Ken Stacy, who I did Sacred and Profane with, because Paul and I had hit an impasse, a creative impasse that we couldn't get past, and we couldn't get that first issue done. We'd already promoted it with the publisher, and the publisher is very frustrated, and we were all very frustrated, but we couldn't get past this creative impasse. It was just too hard to describe what it was, but it wasn't personal or anything. But it was something neither of us could bridge. So Ken approached the Hernandez brothers to see if they would take over the book for a short period of time to just get it off the ground. And they just Love and Rockets are just the first issues had just come out, so they weren't overcommitted at the time, and they weren't that well known, but they were they were getting well known. So they were approached by Ken, and eventually I turned over my scripts to Gilbert, who changed them a bit to fit his vision, and we went from there. And they did 4 issues, and then they left, and we turned it over to other artists after that. But by that time, we talked about me doing the strip, but my time was too much was taken up by doing record jackets at the time and posters and things in the music business. And I couldn't turn my back on that. That was paying the rent. And the comic wouldn't be able to support me at the time. So we found other artists to do it. Found Seth. We had Todd Templeton did an issue. And it went on like that for some time. I think till we ceased publishing the color book, and I left the company after that.